colorful mug. But first, we're going to go back to Florida weed arrest emails because I'm doing these an hour at a time. But usually the first video of the day, and this is Friday, December 7th. Usually the first video a day, I'm like catching up on like, I don't know. I feel like I have to talk about shit sometimes. I'm getting used to doing these blogs. If I'm going to run for president, I'm probably going to be doing a daily video blog. So this is teaching me how I should present myself on camera. See, there's always multiple reasons why Shaz does something. I don't think I should eat all these blueberries though. I should put them away now. That's the problem with blueberries. Too much sugar. See? All right. I was going to go to a friend's place to hang out by the pool. I have to explain that. We're going to take a pause from the emails with Ang. I went to Florida to visit on my friend in March 2011 apparently. When I got to Florida, I had a plane ticket to Seattle to go to see Ang because when I interact with this girl who's been addicted to drugs most of the time I've known her since she was 17 to her 30s. This year is her first year I've known her that she's sober. She just sent me a text last night hanging out with Shaw. See, so some people tell me when they get to know me, they're like, you're friends with your fucking exes? And you're friends with this girl that you've never even been with, but you've helped her so much throughout her life? Like, what is she to you? Is she like the love of your life? Are you still in love with your exes? I'm like, they're my friends. Like, I never understood that whole scorched earth policy. To use a celebrity example, Ariana Grande just reached out to Pete Davidson, whatever the fuck his name is. Davids. They were dating, celebrity couples. One of them's a comic, the other one's a singer. I don't watch his comedy. I don't listen to her songs. But it's interesting because you see this drama unfold. You can't avoid it because instead of talking about real shit that would save the planet, we're talking about this shit. The planet's dying. I wonder why. Because we fucking have our heads up our ass in celebrity gossip, but whatever. And I'm perpetuating it, but I'm using it to illustrate a point in my own life. Maybe we always have to talk about that. I was thinking about that too. High school, you always have the cool kids that everyone talked about. People gossip, so you could argue about gossiping. You could get mad at it, but if it's a natural expression of human behavior, you don't really want to oppose natural expressions of human behavior. That's a little dangerous. You should get out of the way of natural expressions because they're going to happen whether you like them or not. So maybe that's why I'm talking about them. But though it helps us educate, we need a frame of reference, and only so many people know Shaz. A lot more people know these other people. But he said that you're toxic for my life, and he didn't want her talking to him. And I was like, there should be a high bar to toxicity. It shouldn't just be like, you don't want to fuck me anymore, or even like you don't want to marry me. So like I could say any one of these exes or people in my life. I could say my whole family thinks that Addie's toxic to my life. Not so much anymore. I'm hoping that she and I have proved them wrong, that there was good in her. There's always been good in her. To say someone's a toxic person is just to write them off. You have to, where's your spiritual ethics? Christian love is based off of redemptive love. Fucking any sort of faith should be humanistic in the sense that the person is worth caring about and saving. Human values. There are maybe sociopaths, the people who can't feel affection for others, but 1 out of every 100 or 1,000, we can't use that just as a rule of thumb. So, no, Ariana Grande doesn't seem like a sociopath. She seems like what she said about her, Mac Miller, the addict, and I Can't Save You, but that's why I paid attention to her when I saw her in the news. I was thinking in my mind, she came to some realizations I've come to in interacting with addiction. You set your boundaries, you still love them, but you're being manipulated if you go past your boundaries. You have to be very clear and then wait for them to want help. You can offer them all the help in the world, but if they don't make that internal decision, then even if they won't realize they're manipulating you because the drug's manipulating them, and then through them it's manipulating you. So it's not the person manipulating you, it's the addiction. We need to separate the addiction from the person. It's still a good person in there. Because that's also talking about with people in recovery now. As much as you think they're a dirtbag, they think no one judges someone as bad as they judge themselves. Only the 1 out of 1,000 or whatever sociopaths are the ones who don't judge themselves. But everyone else, if you're projecting and that's what it is. Judgment against other people is how hard you judge yourself. Whenever people are really hard against others, I just kind of listen, and in my mind, I'm playing a thought experiment. Is this how they see themselves? When my folks too, when they act a little bit too judgmental about my life. And then sometimes I'll play it out. I'll tell people, is that how you see yourself? Just a couple questions. Just, well, I notice this, and that you do. Is that you're very hard on yourself about that, aren't you? Maybe if you start forgiving yourself, you can start being more compassionate to others. That's like you could unwind these mental knots, but it takes a little bit of patience, first of all, with yourself. The more patience you have with yourself, the more patience you can have with others. The more understanding you have for yourself, the more understanding you can have with others. Otherwise, if you try to control yourself too much and you're too hard on yourself, then obviously you're going to project all that stuff. A way that Alan Watts puts it, he says that you have the temperature dial, the thermostat in your house. If you're trying to correct to like the exact degree, you're going to fucking break the mechanism. Is that it's 70, you want it 75, it's 75 and a half, 76, 74, and you're constantly, that's too much fucking effort. You need to chill. You need to allow like this natural expression of human behavior. But those people who try to control too much within and without, and that's the idea about natural expressions of human behavior. Now I'm reading a lot about anarchism. Anarchism's just the worst belief is it's violent Armageddon to lead to chaos and destruction. But the best belief is that society is a natural expression of human behavior. And just like if we love and cultivate a person, they will flower like a garden. Just love and attention and holding and affection and creativity and ambition and nurturing all their attributes. They're going to grow as a person. All anarchism is looking at the macro society the same way. That perhaps we're adjusting too much. And if we devolve authority and bureaucracy, we will get a naturally evolving society. And perhaps the society we have right now. Anarchism's only hypothesis is that government is not natural. That, which, if we look at native tribes, some governments evolve and some don't. There's native cultures where our type of government didn't evolve, but they still had balance and stasis in another form. That's what even hunter and gatherers, you can even go back that far and say, well, maybe we weren't even, maybe not collecting in cities would have kept a different type of balance. But then that's like anarcho-primitivism or this and that. It gets all fucking weird. What I like is just the ideas, let the ideas compete against each other in an open dialogue. We don't want a pure thought. We don't want pure capitalism, pure socialism, pure anarchism. We just want, the world needs new ideas. We're obviously not fucking making things work the way that they're going on right now. The same thing, if we're addicted right now to war and fucking profit and all the lower fucking expressions of human behavior. So the same thing if you're in an addiction to opioids or something. Look at your life. The definition of addiction is self-harm, detrimental behavior, a pattern, a cycle, which is causing you destruction. Do something different. Whether it's working out, whether it's the same thing in your romance. If you keep fucking getting shut down, there's like a joke. First rule, be attractive. Second rule, don't be unattractive. I've never been the standard of beauty in this society or culture. I've always kind of been like that funny-looking kid with funny behavior who doesn't know how to keep their mouth shut. But I obviously have enough pull to swing this girl who back in Seattle had fucking invitations from her friend groups to get into threesomes. She had a fuckboy. She had a varied sex life, and she just got out of kind of a bad relationship. She was a sweet girl, a sincere girl, and that's where we vibed. All of these emails, just when I read them, it's like we didn't even really know each other, but we jumped right into an emotionally vulnerable, sincere dialogue. Once you find your person, that's what it is. It's not about looks, it's about communication. Your person is someone who communicates like you. And if your relationships or your interactions are negative, work on your communication, who you are. Work on your word, your character, your esteem. Work on the looks. Everyone is attractive who puts effort into their body. That's what I've learned. I had, I think, when I was younger, stereotypical beauty. Here I was very much to the petite girls because Addie was, and that was my fixation. Once I outgrew that, it's like right now, fucking some thick yoga girls are really fucking flip my switch. I don't know what you call it, but like fucking I'm thinking about attraction a lot and stuff, and I think anyone, especially since I like going to the gym and I want to be lifelong in shape, anyone who puts a little effort in the body will build a little muscle, and their muscle and fat deposits will give them a curve which naturally taps into your primal whatever, your visual sensors, which lead towards attraction. So when you do like yoga, working out, all that stuff, you're improving that ass muscle. Um, so yeah, so I think a functional body is a beautiful body. This girl that I didn't hook up with, but the girl I recently hung out with on Twitter had a fucking amazing ass, and she walks 3 to 5 miles a day. She doesn't have a car. She walks in LA to work and back. So just walking and running will give you a decent ass. It's fucking it's not rocket science. And then people like my boobs are too small, blah blah blah. They're not. There's so many different types of fruit. You know, a pear tastes good, but so does an apple. And sometimes fucking a banana is amazing. That was a Freudian slip, right? But we're just the fucking you got fucking grape tits or you got cantaloupes. Doesn't they're both juicy. It's fucking anyways. People are caught up on their own insecurities and they project them. And I find that the people who are most insecure about their own stuff are the most judgmental about other people. It's like fucking that young dude who stayed with me, little 22-year-old with his Instagram girls. And he showed me, he brought his girlfriend by my place. And she's cute. She looks like a little Instagram girl. But fucking, he tells me, oh, she needs to just like lose a little bit. And he's so fucking hard on her and then on himself. Fucking, he would shower at my place and Shaw came over and she was like, she's got a very high libido. She's like, oh, who's your friend over here? And I'm like, out. And I was pushing her out my door. He's a fucking 22-year-old hunk. He's like, what's this guy? These fucking the Paul brothers or whatever. He looks like one of those dudes. Big, buff, white dude, fucking super jacked. And he's getting big. And I told him, dude, you're chill. You're good. And he's like, no, I'm going to get bigger. I'm like, whatever. He eats so much chicken, eats so much while he was at my place. He's putting his time into his body. But he's so hard on himself. He's like, I need to get leaner. I need to get bigger. It's like, that could be a fucking, if you don't keep it around happiness and functional strength, you could get into a funny little loop where like now I have a cousin like that who is bodybuilding. Another one. Yeah, your body is very attractive to a small subset of the population, other bodybuilders, and then some girls really like that. But to be attractive to that fat middle, all it is a little bit of functional strength, a little bit of time and effort to your body. That's why down there in the wild in Puerto Rico and where people are in the ocean and playing, we're all very active. We're all like kayaking, doing stuff. So most everyone has a little bit of muscle tone. Even if you're a little bit chubby, you got a little bit of functional strength because you have to do some functional shit. There's going to be a time you have to grab a machete, start swinging shit. So you're going to have some decent forearms, some decent, even like, that's what it is. If you do a little bit of manual labor, you're going to have a little functional strength, which is going to make you a little bit attractive. And I think that's enough for a majority of social interactions. Everything else is just cream on top. Anyways, Shaz's theory about aesthetics and human beings. All right, let's read the rest of this or else I'm going to fucking run out. Hey, what I liked about her is the way she communicated. The same way when we first had sex, she was like, that was so good. It was almost fucking peak orgasm for me. And I was like, and since some people would say overshare, but then interactions like this are justification for how I live my life. I'm like, no, there's other people out there who people would say are overshares too. Like she apologized earlier in the video previous that, oh, I'm sorry, I'm too honest, this and that. It's like, no, this is safe ground. We are similar types of people. The rest of the world judges us, but within this context, I don't judge you, you don't judge me, and we're okay. It's okay to be sensitive and to be articulate and it doesn't mean that we can't also be sexy. We've proven we can be sexy. She's the girl that I was talking to her. She had rented the Jeep. We're driving through the jungle. There's a full moon, fucking vines, and we're just going down these roads exploring on the island. And we stop in this one little fucking clearing and the road stops. And then we get out and there's a valley of just vines and green and everything. And you can kind of make out stuff. It's a full moon rising. But you could kind of make out stuff, but it's just everything's washed in the green that you only see this shade under the full moon. It's full moon on lush forest. It's a certain type of shade of green and sparkly bluish. It's kind of like, this gives you like the bluish full moon glow behind me. But imagine that with like a jungle vine. We're just like, we both get out. We're just like, and there's a valley of like fucking green. We're like, and then she walks out and then I walk up behind her. And in my mind, knowing previously that there's a time to talk and a time to act Shaz. This girl's giving you enough indicators all day that she's fucking interested in you. You don't talk people into romance. Um, so I just come and I put my arms around her because she's tiny, and I come up behind her and just put my arms around her, and then she turns around with the biggest fucking grin in her face, like, and she like turns around, and then she jumps up into my arms and she just starts making out with me like manically, and I'm like holding her, picking her up, and it was very adorable. But it was an oh, excuse me, ma'am, this is a because of the moonlight and the situation, and because of previous actions that you've done on your part, which would lead me to assume that it would be okay for me to even propose a certain situation in which my lips might contact your lips in a sexual manner. Not even that we're going to have sex, but in a manner that would lead up to the eventual outcome. Of course, assuming consent on your part through each one of these processes, and assuming, of course, that you're able to withdraw consent through each one of these processes, then I would ask of you, is it okay if I initiate that exchange of fluids, which is possibly one of the best things that you could fucking probably do in this life, is to, what did Woody Allen say? Meaningless sex. Anyways, I don't remember. There's some quote, Woody Allen quote about. He's a guy with a high testosterone and sex drive. He's also a guy with questionable morals. So, but I find all those questionable morals about like the children, about the fucking other stuff, playing girls with alcohol and drugs. If you're the type of person to prey on the weak, if you're a predator, then that's where all that other stuff comes. You have to get that higher level thinking, like, where's this coming from? Don't just look at the symptoms. The person who would prey on the corporate raider who would buy a company and then cut it into pieces, not even caring about the workforce that he's thrown out into the street with no like compensation or like job training to help them get other jobs, just looking at a corporation as just profit. If we do a hostile takeover of this corporation and then we sell it for parts, we make a lot of money, but not thinking of the human cost. That's the same person who would prey on a child, or the same person who would prey on the elderly, in my mind. Maybe they have better buffers against that because there's more of a taboo, but predatory behavior is predatory behavior. So you see, that's how I think that's how I categorize the world. It's not that they're the same level of evil. Definitely the worst evil, I think, as a society is preying on children. But if you want to try to be a good person and guard your heart against the worst expressions of humanity, I think that's how you do it, is you try to not act in a predatory way consistently across all of your expressions of humanity, or else you develop some really funny blind spots. So always try to do the right thing and try to put the human first. Otherwise, weird shit starts growing in your head. That's yeah. And that's how you explain stuff like Woody Allen. It's like, he's such a good artist. He's so intuitive about human behavior. How could he have this weird ass fucking behavior in his life? Well, he wasn't really trying to be a good human. That art and everything else is fueled by ego. He was trying to be famous and trying to be. That's what you find a lot in artists. Is there's talent paired with ego, but without the human values and without the putting the human first, then that could be a dangerous place. We've talked a little. I just talked about a lot of fucking crazy shit. But anyways, oh yeah, she jumped into my fucking. That's what it is. She was a sensitive person, and I'm a sensitive person. And the world sometimes, she just got out of a bad relationship. The world takes advantage of people like us. They mistake kindness for weakness. And she just got out of something like that. And that's why her and I, we were both breaths of fresh air. I had done some tourist play, but she was the one that she's the first and probably like the only one while I was down there where I considered following her home. Because, and I think these emails play that out. Like, for our little time together, we jumped right into it. It was like, and that connection on how we communicate, how we look at the world, and she was going her master's degree in psychology, so she cared about human behavior too. That's what makes the sex good, I think, because then when we're being vulnerable with each other physically, we're able to. There's this comfort level. In order for a girl, at least, to reach her potential sexually, I think she has to feel really comfortable. Otherwise, there's always a little bit of guardedness or self-consciousness. And that's what I was trying to tell this young guy who stayed with me at Airbnb. I was like, having a lot of sex and having good sex are two different lessons to learn in life. One is how to catch the fish, but the other one is how to cook the fish. You could catch all the fish in the world and still be a shitty cook. And how many fish are you gonna eat? You're catching way more fish than you can fucking eat. I'm trying to learn how to be a better chef. Catch as much as my appetite allows. But sometimes you're hungry too, right? All right. Help. I told her I was going to help her with some of her assignments because she brought up poetry, and I've always loved poetry. Help. You underestimate my own formidable skills at analysis and composition. See, we're both smart too. That's another thing. I think if you're smart, you're attracted to other smart people. Although, you know what? I like emotional intelligence because the dancer girl recently, not as a knock against her, because she could be a little silly. That's why I don't like calling people stupid, but she wouldn't score high on a fucking objective metric of intelligence like an SAT thing. But her human behavior, I've never known anyone who's better at human behavior and emotions and shit like that. So me and this girl are both analytically intelligent, but because when I say I like intelligence, I fucked with some people who like you wouldn't even like other people who know me are like, I thought you like we can't read the same books together, but they're effective in life because they're like. Dancer girl had me the first night we hung out on the roof of my apartment in New York, looking at the moon, another moon. I don't know if I fall in love with women or if I just fall in love with the moonlight and how it's manifests in women. But she yeah, I could say what she said, but was it her words or was it that night? But that's her sitting in the moonlight on the roof of my. Well, also the fact that she's sitting on the edge of the roof. I would go to the roof, but she went to the edge and put her feet over it and sat on there, and I was like, kind of freaked me out a little bit. Like she lives life. She's a dancer. She does the aerial ropes and the hoops and shit. Her energy is just this wild female energy. She's out there. And she's wild as fuck. Watch out now. Didn't mean to disparage your skills in any way. And just curious to see what you pull out of your ass. I mean, come up with. It would be cool to read what you write sometimes, even if it's just a school assignment. So now I'm trying to develop more of a cerebral connection. The previous stuff I was reading in here, I kind of noticed that I was cooling on her, which is where I was thinking, yeah, I wasn't quite over Addie. I think seeing her get caught up, it's like, even if you tell yourself, all right, I'm just here as a friend to help her out, it's like, oh, but that's the one that got away. Which shows me when she's good and she's bad in my life. I would like to think now I could be friends with her and it won't have negative effects on my life, but you gotta be aware of your blind spots. So she's in a good spot right now. I don't feel any animosity between us. Even the dance girl thought that I was a little jealous of her boyfriend. I'm like, I'm fucking happy for her. I would love for her to find a good guy and settle down. It would round out her experience. But I'm pretty sure we're a good platonic place right now. Hey, so did you ever get your phone back and stuff? I'm going to miss emailing you when you get back to PR, because that's really what you should do. Seattle is not going to happen for you not anytime soon. I'm too busy, seriously, for the next 3 days. I'm only going to get home to sleep, and not even a full 8 hours. Hell, I'm writing this email and lecture. But more importantly, I'm not going to take care of you. I don't know if your spidey sense somehow picked up on my caretaker tendencies or what. Sorry, don't mean to imply that you're planning on taking advantage of me, but reliance on your charm and kindness of strangers seems to be your modus operandi these days. I'm not going to be that girl. And your question about sex being worth the time, the money, the stress, well, no, it's not. I'm enjoying this. I'm engaged, but I'm not desperate. Frankly, it's not that hard for me to get laid. It's managing all the shit that comes along with it. I like sex and romance and intention and all that, but it's not my primary concern right now. I know this sounds harsh, but you being here with no resources, no way out, well, it's not really a turn on. Thinking about it makes me feel more maternal and nurturing than anything else. I don't want to feel concerned for you. Okay, I'm out of time, and I know this sounds rough. I really want to get the idea out of your head so you can just buy that ticket back to PR or wherever you're going. Wherever you're going already. I've got more to say that will be more pleasant, and I'll write more this afternoon. I'm definitely not saying never. I'm saying not right now. Not like this. And that's where we've pretty much, if you read into this and you've had relationships, and me doing real estate and really getting my feet under me and being able to take girls out on a consistent basis. Not that the guy always has to pay, but this is the opposite of the guy always paying. Is I was floating out her paying for my ticket to come out there. I could be that type of guy. No guys like that. And I think sometimes in my life I've been a little bit. When I took Shaw around California, it was on her mom's money's dime. It's really easy to fall into that pattern of just being, what do you call it, gigolo type. Just, all right, I'm a good lay and I'm somewhat charming. Let's just keep the money flowing. I'll get you back eventually. Even if you get them back eventually, it's not an honest way to build a relationship. And I knew that was a blind spot of mine, and that's why I was backpedaling, but I mentioned it. So once I mentioned it, if she had said yes, I would have done it. And then I kind of joked around about it. And in my mind, I know what was going through my mind right here. And that's why she said, yo, can so-and-so help you? Yo, I can't help you with the money. She said it 2 or 3 times, I can't help you. And then this is her being like, I don't think he quite gets it. Or like, that's what your conscious and your subconscious and what you should be doing sometimes is not as clear. And so it took her a couple of days to actually be like, I need to be clear about boundaries, which is, she's a couple years older than me. I'm like 28, 29 at the time, 28 probably. Yeah, 2011. Let's see, 7 years, 29, just turned 29. And she's like 32. So she just got out of a bad relationship. So she's like, oh, a couple red flags. And that's why she was basically saying like, and then I was explaining to her my situation. I got out to Florida, flew into Orlando, and then I took a bus down to Gainesville, and I was going to spend, I had 2 weeks to hang out with Addie, and then I was going to fly to Seattle. And and I had already the plane ticket set up. I show up at the bus stop, and Addie doesn't show up. And I wait an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And then she finally says, all right, you can walk to my friend's house. They're nearby, and you can hang out there. This is what happens. This is how you interact with a heroin addict or an opioid addict, is times and commitments mean nothing. So I end up at her friend's house. Her friends are getting evicted. They're really cool people. They're like rainbow gathering type people, which is kind of like Burning Man, but before. Like Burning Man is an event, a party in the desert with a lot of money and a lot of fucking like shit now. But rainbow gathering and other stuff is just hippie gatherings that have been going on for generations now. In the forest and the fucking, let me look it up real quick. What is the official definition of a rainbow? But they're good people. I've hung out with these people a bunch, traveling, doing stuff. I've never gone to one. I should. Maybe that's what Shaz should do, just live among the rainbow. Rainbow gatherings are temporary loose-knit communities of people who congregate annually in remote forests around the world for 1 or more weeks at a time to enact shared ideology of peace, harmony, freedom, and respect. Anyone is allowed to attend, and participants refer to themselves as a rainbow family. There's some funniness, I'm sure, as in all communities, but all my interactions. So in Florida, she was like, you could go hang out with these people, they're good. And I went and hung out. And I had a little bit of bucks, so I would buy groceries, make us breakfast, eggs and bacon and shit. And they were good people. One of them, he, before I left, he gave me his dad's kimono. I think that's what it is, a Japanese dress. But he was half Japanese. I should talk about that guy. This was Addie's friend from way back. She knew him for a while. So it's like, I only know this talking to Addie now, only the last couple of years. She would bring him up, and I'd be like, yeah, that was a good dude. She was like, that's one of my oldest friends. Because she grew up in Florida and then moved out to California. And I remember, so I was in that house for a couple of weeks. It took Addie 2 weeks, or like a week. Yeah, 2 weeks. Almost 2 weeks, like a week and a half to finally see me, because she felt ashamed probably about her situation. And she's also just in and out of consciousness with the drugs and shit. She's just pilled out almost. But she knows I'm in town, and I'm like, yo, almost every day calling her, texting her, what the fuck's going on? But her friends are really chill. So in the meantime, we're having a bunch of adventures. It was 2 dudes who lived there, and then one of the dudes had a girlfriend who was pretty cute. And so I guess instead of it being a weird third wheel thing, because the 2 dudes and the girl would always hang out, now me and the other dude could hang out while the dude's hanging out with his girlfriend. And so the other dude who didn't have the girlfriend is a half Japanese guy who would, me and him talked a lot while the couple's doing their thing. And one night I think there was another girl or two hanging out But one night we're all hanging out and we're gonna go out on the town. Gainesville's a college town. And this is social Shaz. Shaz has had a girlfriend now. Shaz has been like in New York. So like hanging out with people is like, and I'm a tour guide. The tour guide thing, always like taking control of groups, taking them out. It's like, I'm pretty sociable. I'm not just in my fucking political shit. I could turn that shit off, which I've turned it off right now in my life. All that shit is for safekeeping. And when I go back to those songs and those writings, it all comes back out. But then I got these other aspects of the jewel that is Shaz, where the light can come through. These other aspects of truth, which are important. You don't want to just be someone who dwells in ideology and then you talk to people and you fucking don't know how to make a normal sentence. So these guys really took me into their home and I contributed. I tried to be nice. And one night we're going out with like the group and I was like, the girls were taking a while to get ready. And that always bugs me because I don't like pretension, but like not in a judgmental way, but just throw on whatever, but like girls are girls or whatever. So I'm starting to get annoyed a little bit, but like instead of being negative, I'm just like, yo, like and I start putting on the clothes. So I start going into the closets because I think, yeah, the girl had a lot of her clothes over at the guy's house, or maybe she lived there sometime, but there's enough clothes for me to try on. So I started like throwing them to like one of the friends and being like, here, like, well, let's show them how it's done. We're going to get ready faster than the girls. And so we throw on some dresses. And the guy who had the girlfriend looked kind of like David Bowie, beautiful man. Like one of those guys where like, even if no homo, whatever, you've never had a homosexual thought in your life, he had beautiful cheekbones, beautiful lips. He was a very fucking like striking dude. So he looked great, thin shoulders and shit. He had like that metro look going. I fucking have always had somewhat broader shoulders, and so I fucking look like a beast. And I put my bro's done some drag before, and he told me beans have a really nice heft if you want some boobs. If you're going to throw some boobs in a bra, something in a bra to make it feel like boobs, beans give you a nice little bounce. It depends on what types of beans. You want kind of smaller beans, like black beans. So yeah, I had a pretty decent fucking outfit. They're like, you guys will not go out like that. And Gainesville's like the South. It's a little bit like, it's not the most accepted thing to do. And I was like, let's do it. We put on the makeup and we had a good time. Went out and drag is actually a very good way to pick up girls, because girls come up and they love it. They're like, oh my gosh, and they're just cracking up, and we're just like, and they come up and they feel your fucking tits. And when that happened a couple times, where it's like, as soon as a girl starts touching my tits, I just start touching hers. I'm like, yo, dude, this is like equal opportunity. I don't know if it is, but we didn't get slapped. We just like, it was a shock more like, it's like, yo, dude, we're not necessarily gay. We're being stupid. But we didn't get any negative male energy. It was just because we were a group of people. We were just being stupid, running around the town. So I remember my time in Gainesville fondly that night that we went out and drag, just on a whim too. That's another thing. It wasn't like I love ideas that you just have an idea and you just do it. And we weren't planning on doing it. It's just the girls were taking too long. We're like, it's not that hard to throw on a dress. We'll show you. And then it was really because that guy looked so good in the dress. They really wanted him to go out in it. And then I was like, I'll go out with you. I'm not going to make you be the only dude in a dress. And he kind of was more excited about doing it because I don't know. He was a little bit in the middle himself. But yeah, that was a good night. There's this other night we went to a college party at some apartment complex, and they were hiding the beer. This is some poor shit. This is some like hood shit, like crashing a college party as the poor kids from the other side of the tracks. They don't really want us there usually because there's all these college kids, and none of these kids that I'm hanging out with and myself, we didn't go to college, so there's some resentment. The same resentment that people have in Puerto Rico. And even though I grew up humbly, I didn't grow up as poor or as violent community as down there. There's some shit that goes down there. You could pick the worst neighborhood in New York, and Latin America's got you beat by 10. There's fucking shit that happens there that can't happen in the States. And it'll never make the news. This isn't Chicago, this isn't the Bronx, this is like invisible people. Fucking people die down there and don't make the news up every day. There's fucking shit happens and it becomes a part of the local folklore. You wouldn't know about it if you were outside that neighborhood. A lady stabbed her husband. He was beating her. Everyone knew he beat her. One night he came home and she wasn't having it. Other shit. So many yeah, I don't know that many people, and I know a handful of people who are no longer here personally. There's just, and that, over here in the United States, it's somewhat civilized and stuff is reported. Maybe there's deaths and stuff that aren't reported in the inner cities, but it's the inner cities have nothing on like it was like if you go to a Mexican town or something like that. It's not people just disappear. They're just. But anyways, that is the what is that when you start talking about violence and death and stuff? I think that's testosterone or ego or some shit. Because it starts to get life of itself. You have to cut it off. You have to be like, that's enough about that. But I noticed that with guys too. I went out to Slab City and this guy's telling me a little bit about how dangerous it is out there, and you had to chase someone off the property with a shotgun, and you just that type of stuff could go into like war stories and fighting stories and now you're just feeding a perpetual like just a little bit of a warning, and that's fine. All right, now I know how it is out there. There's like some crackheads, meth heads running around the desert at night. Just be aware. But so we went to this college party and they tried to hide the beer to get us to leave or something like that. They're like, oh, we're all out of beer. And we're like, what the fuck? You guys just had a shitload of beer. I think they put it on the bathroom. And we had like a rowdy group of like 4 or 5 guys with us. And so on our way out, we pulled the fire alarm for the fucking apartment complex and all ran to our cars. It was a shitty thing to do. And fucking everyone's like streaming out of the apartment buildings and shit. It's like, that's being an asshole, Shaz. But that when I recognize other asshole behavior by young men, I'm no saint. I understand how young men can be assholes, and I understand the frustration that goes into it, and it's not surface level frustration. It's just like, fuck these people. They're being fucking, because we think that they're being assholes. They're not being they're not showing hospitality. But there's this entitled sense of like, you should fucking, I don't know, because it's a way of bullying, just demanding hospitality for certain people, and those other people aren't comfortable because they're coming from a different part of society and they don't recognize our energy. We're a little bit rowdier. When I was in Santa Cruz too, we go to some parties sometimes, and it's a different type of people, just a little bit fancier, more civilized people. And if our group's a little bit rowdier, yeah, I remember my fucking lawyer friend. I don't know if he'll remember this because he would get shit faced sometimes. My friend from the army. In Santa Cruz, we were leaving a party and he was fucking throwing beers back at the party, and like he almost hit one of the person's girlfriends, and we're like, yo, because we're rowdy, we're not fucking dicks. You fucking don't want to injure a fucking female. It's just fucking, if you want to like fight with the dudes, whatever. And I think he got in some headlock shit, not fighting, but some wrestling shit. And we were leaving, they're like, get the fuck out of here, and all of our group got fucking kicked out of their house party. But like honestly, he's Irish, and you get that, I think, sometimes. Maybe that's just an excuse, but that type of, like, drunken, like, he's been in a bar once and just, like, there was this huge stack of shot glasses in a bar, and he just told me, I wasn't there that night, but he just told me the story. He was like, I just wanted to fucking knock it over. He just goes, big hand, just knocks the whole fucking stack of shot glasses. They all go flying, glass everywhere. Everyone fucking 86 for life. Never go back to that bar. It's like, why? He's a public defender now. He's a good kid. Good guy. 2 daughters. But we have times in our past that were just like life lessons. And then just hope that you don't go to jail or hurt someone. But sometimes part of your masculinity, part of your human expression comes out in an ugly way. And fucking his hand was all cut up. Consequences of those actions. I wasn't driving. I was in the car with drunk drivers. And they didn't want to, this girl was in an accident before. This is a Santa Cruz story. They did not want to get in that car. She did not want to get in that car because she was in a car accident from a drunk driver and had brain trauma. She was really sweet and really beautiful, but she spoke a little funny because of that car accident. She was now on disability because of that car accident. And we all talked her into getting in this car with a friend of ours who was drunk. And now it's 5 people. We're all like, being stupid and crazy. And we had to go 3-4 highway exits to get home from one side of Santa Cruz, the west side, to the east side. And the guy almost misses the exit, screeching down the off-ramp, and hits the fucking stop sign at the end of the off-ramp. Luckily, it's a wooden stop sign, and we're in a BMW 3 Series from the 80s. Pretty good tanks. They're big steel, tubular, like rectangular cars. So we didn't even notice we fucking hit the stop sign, but we're stopped where the stop sign should be, because he came screaming off the off ramp, and overshot it because we were going too fast and went right into the fucking dirt. But luckily it was wood, so he just uprooted the whole thing. We didn't even know what happened, and we looked, and it's just on the ground. It had fucking flown in the air and fallen on the ground. If it was metal, that would have been a lot harder impact. And the girl, I don't think she ever hung out with us again. It was like we just take stupid risks. Fucking my DUI. So anyways, I think about that sometimes. Try to do a reality check before you go out, have a plan. That's the biggest thing. If you want to really avoid trouble before you go out, have a plan. Don't leave your buddies too. Don't let people drunk and wander, drunk and stumble. A friend of mine, she told me, a friend of hers broke some vertebrae. They all took acid at a party. He went off wandered into a construction site and fell like 2 stories through a half-finished house. And alcohol is a drug. Any form of intoxication, have a buddy system. Don't let people wander around. Have a plan so you can get back home okay. Uber's great now. There's no excuse to ever fucking drive drunk, shit like that. Anyways, try to be a better adult. But talking about these things is like, because people are going to party and they're going to have fun. People are going to want to be rowdy. But the only thing you have to do in life is be responsible for your actions. And there's no reason to glorify idiocy. But you talk about it to recognize your path. That it's not always straight. It's wiggly. You can't really defend when it's been wiggly. So yeah, and this is what I'm talking about when it's wiggly with women. That like I was kind of like wiggling into like being like a fucking gigolo type person. Like, hey, you want to give me some money? You know, I'm a good lay. Like that's what I've noticed ego will do. As I approach peace this year, when I'm reading about the Tao and Buddhism and Zen, I feel like this really fucking, I'm on my peace shit. Like I really got a fucking, the way I'm able to articulate spirituality, it seems really healthy. Like I have something, like something worth money. I can, not just money, but like there's ego that comes with that. It's the same ego I felt when I got, when I get a paycheck. Like I make like 10 grand within the first 10 days of the month when I'd make a fucking, in real estate when it was really popping. I made like 20 grand within like the first 2 weeks once. But for within the first 12 days. And by the 14th I was gone. I was in Puerto Rico. I was like fucking, see yas. But you're walking down the street, you're just feeling like fucking, so I could only imagine if you fucking make like 200 in the stock market, if you do other stuff. That's why you want a good practice of fucking meditation. Because just the same as when people die in your life, or if you fucking, God forbid, you get crippled or some shit, you want to be able to mellow out the worst in life. But you also got to mellow out the top. Because that top shit, whether it's like, I can fucking get whatever woman, or I just got this fucking money, there's a lot of like danger that comes with that. And even the danger could be one-off, like danger that you're going to make a fucked up decision. Or it could be like this. I could kind of see how I could have been that person. And she was kind of correcting me. And I didn't invite correction. I knew she was a good girl and her heart was good. And so I didn't take offense to this. This was my wake-up call. When she emailed me that, I was like, yeah, I was kind of like that dude. And so she sent me 2 emails before I responded. Okay, so not so over-caffeinated and slightly less stressed. I'm sorry for being rough on you. And see how she's apologizing? She's not too rough on me. She was standing up for herself. I'd given her enough indications that I was kind of open to using her. And she just got out of a relationship where a guy was using her. And so she stood up for herself, and then she goes and she apologizes 6 hours later. That's how hard it is to stand up for yourself in life sometimes. It's like even when you're tough, and then you take 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I was too harsh. So like, it's just interesting. I'm sorry for being rough on you. You must have had whiplash from that rapid change in tone and content of the last 2 emails. It made perfect sense. I gave her a couple indications of douchebaggery. So I'll just say, I think I know what your preferred plan of action is, but can't hold out for me to change my mind. You need to decide on your actual options. I thought you had already booked the flight back to PR, kind of confused as to why you would even revisit the topic. Okay, enough self-flagellation. Maybe in June, when I have a break, when my living situation is settled down, you have some kind of cash and or round-trip ticket, you can come check Seattle out, or I can come to where you are. I'm interested in seeing you again, but the brief window of a visit being workable has passed until the next window comes, which will be soon. Another month, basically. Never fear, you won't go crazy. And I moved this conversation to this thread because I'd like to keep the other going in the same vein. Surely that's worth something. I know masturbation has its limits, but we all have to make sacrifices. I can't always have just what I want without complications. Forgive me the scolding. What happened is I have the David McNerney email, I have the Shaz Barbaric email. In the other email, we were going back and forth also, but I only put the emails from, is this David McNerney or Shaz? David McNerney. I only put these emails in because they explain the narrative. The other ones had devolved into, the fucking sexy emails. We were just being horny. So like the other emails devolved into us just like fucking trying to turn each other on, which is cool, but it's not so necessary to have those for this narrative. So that's why she says, I moved this conversation to this thread because I like to keep the other going in the same vein. Because we were like kind of like sending each other back and forth, like, all right, well, this is what I'm doing to you, this is what I'm doing to me, and we were. That's what a good relationship is that clear communication, clear setting of boundaries and expectations. So she was, because we're not perfect, we just want to correct towards perfection. So I acted a little douchey. She corrected me, or setting expectations. But my attention span at this time is like I went fucking back to Puerto Rico, and then I went to the past. That happens a lot in life. That's something maybe I have to learn, to look towards the future and less of the past. I went back to Puerto Rico, forgot all about her, got lonely, called Shaw down from New York, said, you need to come down and check this place out. She was missing me. Nothing's going on in New York, not really dating anyone. Fucking having some douchebags, like guys who try to invite people into threesomes, which is cool for some people, but I've never really respected those dudes who are like, I got a girl, but you could be the girl on the side or you could come into our relationship. It's like, just be single and fucking date people. Like, at least for Shaw, I was like, don't be some dude's side chick. Fucking come down here. That's what, like, confidence sometimes. I get mad at my friends who, that's also a reason why I stay in their life, to build them up. Like, even now, like, now that they set good boundaries, like, Shaz, we're not having sex anymore. Are you sure? No. Are you sure? No. You're sleeping on the floor. Didn't even fucking let me sleep in her bed when I stayed over, because whatever. I keep my libido high. Or I don't know if I keep it or if it's just how. So, but boundaries, good boundaries with friendships, keep the friendships. But then when she's telling me, Shaw nowadays, now I'm talking about last year, she's telling me about how her boyfriend's not treating her right, this and that. I'm like, fuck him, dude, you're a queen. He didn't give you your crown. You're fucking, you were you before you met him. If he doesn't recognize that, he can move on to get on. Fucking, you have an inherent worth that people can either recognize or you're not type of people. You're the girl that I picked, and just because we're not together anymore, that's why we're still friends. Like, she is an amazing human being. That's what your circle does. We're friends for a reason, because we think we're amazing. Our ego, actually, partly. Shah has a huge ego, and I'm there to feed it when it needs feeding, and then when it needs trimming, I'm there to be like, yo. She just got a $4.2 million listing, she told me the other day. So I texted her and Addie last night. They're like, what's up? Thinking about you, blah, blah, blah. What you doing? I'm keeping my cards to my chest. I'm like, I'm living, not doing anything. Don't worry about what I'm doing. I'm at my parents' house. I'm living. But yeah, Shaw told me, I got her licensed in real estate. Taught her everything she knows until she started working in sales. I don't fucking sell shit. But I recognize success in our industry. A $4.2 million listing is success in any industry. A lot of people in real estate go their whole careers without ever getting $1 million listing. 3% of 4.2 million is $120,000. Keller Williams is gonna fucking who is she working with now? Douglas Elliman, whoever the fuck she's working with now. She's on the Serhant team at fucking Nest Seekers. No, she's not. She saw Ryan Serhant, buying protein at fucking the GNC. I saw Ryan Serhant this last year walking into his office. The world gets small. The world gets small. No worries, Aang. I just had a moment of doubt due to the sexy email, but I bought a ticket. That's what it was. It wasn't just like me trying to prey on her to get her to bail me out of the situation with her money, but those emails are getting pretty sexy. So I think I was like, fuck, I should really be in Seattle right now. I bought a ticket to Vieques, and I'm in Puerto Rico now. I have less access to email, but I can still call and text. We'll be in touch. I plan on staying here at least until July, and then maybe I'll get a place in NYC with a friend. I understand where you're coming from. No need to apologize. Sometimes a scolding is required. Take care. Talk to you later. That was a little bit of me being butthurt. A little bit of me being like, all right, fine, then if you don't want me. If you want me, you'll pay for my ticket out there. But it's like, upon reflection, having some distance from the shit, that's another thing that you don't really know how you feel about relationships fucking until you have some distance. Because when you're right up on them, I felt a little bit rejected, but with and also the money. I had to make money to not be insecure or funny about money. That's why I got into real estate. I was like, I never really held money in my life. I should probably do that just to check that blind spot. I noticed that in Occupy Wall Street. Money kept coming up in between people organizing. We were dependent on money. We were dependent on outside donations. And then I always thought you should have a trade. And all my life I've worked and been somewhat self-sufficient. Um, when I went down to Puerto Rico, I was like, just give me a place for a week. And I got a job. And when I went up to Santa Cruz, I rented a fucking place without a job. The owner of the house, we went to Denny's. He talked about my application. I showed him my resume. I said, I don't have a job, but I have the money. I borrowed the money from a friend in Iraq. He wasn't using the money in Iraq. I hung out with him over the Christmas break. He came back to visit family. I went out with his family to dinner. And afterwards I approached him. I said, there's this place I want to get, but I needed like $3,500 plus my money plus my friend's money. We'd have all for first, last, and deposit. It was like 24 times 3 or some shit. I was like, I'm short. I know you've been stacking because you've been over there. Can you hook me up and I'll pay you back? He was like, yeah, for sure. Fucking, I didn't pay him back right away. He got out, and it was like a year after he got out before I paid him back, and that was a little disrespectful. We had a couple arguments about that. Just stuff like that. You're not born with a word. You have to correct towards having a word, towards having character. Kind of was like, you're being a bit of a dirtbag. You haven't paid me back. I've been out for a year now. And he got drunk once and he swung on me. And that was like, all right, this is fucking. And he always kind of like was just giving me shit, and I wasn't taking it seriously. But then when he got drunk, it was really like, nah, you're not respecting me. Like you're. You have to have a word in life. He didn't hit me though. He was too drunk. But it was like, if your friend swings on you, that's real. Like when you fuck around with your friends, you don't really fight them. You're not supposed to get mad with your friends to the point of blows. I don't think so. Even like when you're mad and you're like, whatever, you wrestle or you submit each other or you fucking. I had a friend, yeah, even when we were adults, always wrestling and fucking around, but it was an angry punch. It was a frustrated, like, kind of like, yeah. I think I treated him well. I paid him back, but not just that. Like, I still need to go visit him. That's what it is. Sometimes it's not even money. It's just checking in on your friends. As if friends are friends. Even if you haven't seen each other for 5 years, 3 years, whatever. Friends are friends. Go check in on each other. How's it going? I think he has a wife now, a couple little kids. Everything okay? I'm really trying to live that life where when I come into someone's life, I'm a benefit, and I leave them better off than how I found them. Shah, she came down to Puerto Rico with me. Yeah, here's this colorful mug. I should talk about that real quick. Colorful mug. I took that mug shot and I turned it into a really awesome picture. Just colorized it and some other shit, vectorized it, gave it layers. It looks really cool. The other one looks a little constipated. This one, you could kind of tell my disappointment. Still high, being processed. I'm just like, really? You're going to do all this shit for $20 worth of weed? Like, really? I was just talking to my friend about some real life shit. She's thinking about killing herself. The boyfriend has her trapped in this lifestyle, just giving her as many drugs as she wants so she stays in his apartment. The same dude who just called you guys saying that she's killing herself, just knowing that that's going to give you an excuse to enter the apartment. Like, she basically, what is it in Florida? Baker Act? Let me look that up. Yeah, Florida, Baker Act. The Baker Act allows for involuntary examination. Some would call it emergency or involuntary commitment. It can be initiated by judges, law enforcement officials, physicians, or mental health professionals. He knew that she had track marks on her arms. He knew that she had a warrant and that she was in a bad mental state. He came in. He saw me there. She was like, yeah, this is my friend. As soon as he walked into the bedroom, I fucking sensed his energy. I started smoking a cigarette. I didn't even talk to him. I was just looking at him smoking a cigarette. I'm like, this. Well, also, fucking, I see the whole situation. I'm like, this motherfucker right here. And he has a gun and shit. It's like, I'm not being, like, aggressive. I'm just watching him, like, He's like, all right, I'm going to fucking come back in an hour to take you home then. I was like, all right. And as soon as he leaves, I'm like, you need to get the fuck out of here. I don't like that guy. And what does he do? He goes fucking down the street, calls the cops. My girlfriend's trying to kill herself. We didn't even hear the cops. We just heard them calling her name while they're walking down the hall it was an apartment with a room in the back. So fucking they walk in, we're stoned as shit. There's weed on the table, on the bed. It's like, police in America allowed to just walk into your apartment without your permission because the boyfriend's fucking with her. Who knows if the gun was out, I say, or like other shit, like, and then arrest us both for being in an apartment smoking weed in an apartment. That's what that face is. It's the same face like right now, like fucking like, I wasn't. It's not scorn. It's not. It's just like, really, like, it's like, is that what you're running with? Like, all you have to do in life is have a word and live it. All you have to do in life is have a philosophy, have a way you live your life, and then stand behind it. That's all I've tried to do. Even when I'm an idiot, then correct me. Life will correct me. Even when someone wants to fucking fight me, it's like, all right, well, fucking why? What's going on here? So I'm right here, you're right here. Is this something we could talk about? Have I offended you? Is this really something that you want to take there? Or fucking, what are your values? Am I out of line from those values? Because I try to be a good man, so if I'm out of line with your values, are your values in line with nature? That's why I try to put that perspective. It's like, you're going to be fighting me, you're going to be fighting fucking everyone. Because this isn't, I just try to fucking walk that, like, that's why I like Tao, that's why I like anarchism. There's a pattern to nature that I try to fit within. So that way, if you fit without me, you're fitting without, it's a lot more than just me that you're outside of. You're being suicidal. That's what fucking, I'll take my lumps, I'll take whatever life has to offer me. But I'm trying to live within a code and a pattern that keeps the peace. You disrupt that, now you're the person who's disrupting peace. That's, I think, the strength of the peacemaker, is that I don't have to fight, because that's not where the power is. The power is in the peace. You disturb the peace, then I shouldn't even have to fight you, because you fucking, life. It's like bleeding in the wild. It's like, if you bleed in the wild, I just have to back away. Fucking, the animals take care of you. But yeah, that was me looking at fucking society, being like, this isn't rational. This is, you came into a private residence. Like, that's that, I guess, moral righteousness. It's like, I'm there only to fucking try to help my friend. Not even to try to fuck with my friend, who I've fucking loved since she was young, but like, this is as selfless as it can get. I came here and I put a booty call on hold so I could come here and check in on her. And all I want to do is check in on her. I didn't even want to, I was thinking about staying there maybe, and that's where like the saving mentality of like staying there. But I was like, no, this is her life, this is her bed. I given her a heads up. And that's what happened when I gave that dude the same look. He went to meet me at his apartment. He met me in a parking lot to give me my shit, my backpack and stuff, and I just looked him in the eye. I was like, that's not fucking, I don't know, my life would be very different if I had a temper. Because he fucking, if anyone deserves an ass whooping, it's the dude who puts you in jail. But just look at him like, you're just out of the code, dude. You're fucking, what do I have for you but compassion? But I don't have any fear though. It's not, you didn't fucking intimidate me. You just made yourself look like an ass. That was a bitch move. That was definitely a bitch move. Fucking, and that just tells me how I come off to you. I come off as someone that you have to fucking do something sneaky like that, so whatever. And now the person's dead. He overdosed. Addie told me she had a nightmare a couple months ago. She was like, I had a nightmare of his overdose. It still haunts her. She really loved him. It was a real relationship. For all their fucked upness, they really fell in love, and she made it out ahead of him, and he didn't make it out, because that's what opioids do. The survival rate is really low, and the re-addiction rate, relapse rate is like 70%. 7 out of 10, it's really high. And that probably plays out in my life. I know a couple people who made it, a lot more people who didn't. But this guy, I remember looking at him in the apartment complex and being like, I don't know, should I fucking, I'm really fucking pissed off at this dude. And it's like, no. Just like that fucking anarchist kid who swung at me with a bat. It's like, their punishment is being them. I live within the code because I think it's the way for wisdom, success, safety, all the benefits of my life have come from it. If they haven't figured that shit out, I just step back and let them run into the fucking shit that they're hitting branches on the way down. It's not that I wanted this guy to overdose or die, but I can help you, man. I have nothing for you now. I'm a good person to know, I think, and I'm a good friend to have. Fucking, we have to live by the decisions we make in life.